2. Camera's in 3. No, it's in 3. Okay, well, my name is Sean Sellers. Who are you? Okay. No, I'll sit down here. Most of the people around here, you know, all they see is a death row inmate. All they see is chains and bars and crimes. So, you know, if all you can see is that someone has hurt somebody, that someone has killed somebody, that someone is dangerous, then you want that person dead. That person deserves to die. And I don't blame them for that, except to this point. The only people who really have a right to want to see me dead are the people I've hurt. The people who are still hurting today because of what I did when I was 16 years old, those people have a right to hate me. Those people have a right to be angry with me. Those people have a right to want me dead. If I've never hurt you, then why do you want me to die? My mom was 16 years old when I was born, and my father was 18. I'm not really sure what all happened and everything because no one ever had a good word to say about my real father. All that I ever heard about Rick Sellers was that he was a liar and a cheat and a thief and a drug addict and things like that. The marriage lasted about 2 years. When I was 5 years old, she moved me to my grandparents, and she took a job as a truck driver, and I only saw her every couple of weeks whenever she could make it in. It was about that time that she met who became my stepfather, Lee Bellafato, and they got married, and I was excited because suddenly I would have a daddy, you know. I thought that was great. They just kept driving truck for a couple of years, so they would come in, try to make it in on my birthday, try to make it in on Christmas, try to make it in every few weeks, and we moved about 3 times a year from house to house, and sometimes I was able to stay in the same school, and sometimes we moved from town to town. That was something that always irritated me. It seemed like every time that I made a friend, you know, we would move. And I've been kind of interested in the occult because I'd seen things on TV that made it look fun. I never intended to hurt anybody. I never set out to do that. What happened is the more I got involved in the occult, the more what I believed got fractured and twisted. When it finally came to the point where I didn't think it was wrong to kill somebody, that's whenever I did it. I've run out of hope, you know. We're coming up for a clemency hearing, and I can't even hardly muster the strength to believe in that. No one has ever gotten clemency in Oklahoma. If we get clemency, it will be a miracle of God. It won't be for anything other than that. So here I am, you know, still sort of hoping, because honestly, it's hard not to, but not really having the strength to hang on to it. If they give me clemency, I'll keep doing something with my life, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think I'm going to die in 2 weeks.
To me, this day signifies whether man will grant mercy or deny mercy. And after knowing Sean for as long as I have, for 10 years, in all of my being, he is one that should be granted mercy. And if he is denied mercy, I feel it is an injustice.
Yeah, I fear for our state.
Yes.
If we decide that it's okay to murder a 16-year-old mentally ill person for something, for a crime they've committed, I fear for what is. We are not the wild, wild west anymore. It's time to realize that there are better ways to handle this than to execute our kids. It's no wonder the rest of the world thinks we're crazy.
I'm Sean Sellers' attorney. Thus I carry a burden that no man should ever have to shoulder, that of begging someone to spare a human life. As you know, Sean was 16 years old when he committed these murders. That's not to say that Sean Sellers should not be punished for his crimes. Sean is being punished. No rational person can deny that. Each day for the last 13 years, Sean has slept on a concrete slab just inches from a metal toilet in a windowless room smaller than most of our own closets. There he spends 23 hours a day, often 24. And if he's not executed, will spend the rest of his life in just such an existence. Is it better than what he gave his victims? Many say not. But no one can credibly argue that imprisonment is not punishment. Sean has been punished, is being punished, and will be punished. I ask you about clemency, if not now, when? If not Sean Sellers, who? Sean Sellers lives on a dark, desolate death row. Very dark. And on that row, he is a shining candle. Please don't extinguish that flame. Thank you.
I'm here today to speak for my father. For almost 13 years, my family has remained silent, allowing the disposition to take its course. Now, after all this time, we are shocked to find ourselves here in your presence, pleading to you to allow the death sentence of Sean Sellers to go forward and allow him to be executed. I knew Sellers very well growing up. I had always accepted him as a brother and cared for him very much. I would have never imagined that he was capable of committing such horrendous crimes. There was no one like my father, and he was my hero. He could always make me smile by wrinkling his nose or flashing me his mischievous grin. Those are just a few of the ways he expressed his love to all of his children. I'm so saddened by the fact that my husband and son and my beautiful niece and sister-in-law will never experience this. They have truly lost. In closing, please remember that Sellers' murders were premeditated and calculated. The execution of Sellers will not bring my father back or my stepmother. It can never fill the void in my life. But Sellers must be executed for the brutal crime he committed. This is a punishment. This is not vengeance. Thank you.
State of Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board will now reconvene. The meeting is called to order at 12:57 p.m. by Acting Chairperson Bussey.
something of what you've heard here today because I know the people that I've hurt. I know they're here. I can't imagine what I could say today that could cause you to have any mercy on me whatsoever. I know I didn't come here to ask for justice. I came here to beg for mercy. I read the clemency package that the state put together against me, and it's the first time that I had been able to read the letters from Lauren and Noel and Lou. And I know you're here somewhere. I can't find you. Let's see. I can't find you here. There you are. Lauren, I read what you said about your daughter. I am so sorry. And when I see that she has to grow up without a grandfather, it makes me want to die. It's so hard for me to be here to try to beg for my life in the face of that.
Stop begging. Take your punishment.
I don't think it will ever make up for what I did. I'm not so illusioned that I think that I can make up for 3 people's lives. I have to try. I've been trying, and I have to keep on if I live. The way I understand it, you're putting the decision into the governor's hands. You're saying that you think that this has merit enough that he should be given the opportunity to make a decision on whether I should live or die. But I will keep reaching these kids. I will do everything that I can. That's my heart. That's who I am. That's all I can do. I'm begging you for mercy on behalf of that, and that only.
This time, I will call on each member of the board alphabetically for their vote. Flint Breckenridge.
No.
I'll skip my vote at this time. Ruby Smith.
No.
Ronald Worthen.
No.
And my vote is no.
Clemency is denied for Sean Sellers.
This time, the clemency hearing for Sean Sellers is adjourned.
State of Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board now adjourned. The meeting is adjourned at 1:25 p.m. by
Like I said, your best attorney I ever had. It's because of your heart. Because you believe in me. You weren't just fighting the case. You weren't just fighting for my life. You were fighting for me. And that meant the world to me. And we lost. But you know what? I'm never going to be forgotten. And my life has been surrendered to God, and God's not done with it yet. And I think that in 10 years, more people will know about who I was than they do now. I love you.
I love you.
30 seconds. You be well and you be loved. Okay?
Okay.
Alright, guys. I love you, man.
I love you, Sean.
Goodbye, Steve.
Goodbye, Sean.
All my heart and all my soul.
All my heart, all my soul.
Forever. Goodbye.
Bye.
I went out on the yard today, laid down and watched the sky for a while through the static of steel beams and square wire. The square in the wire made a grid that let you see the clouds' every movement. A huge white, bright cloud covered the yard like a veil. It was drawn back, passed over, and was gone. It took all the clouds with it, and there was nothing but blue in its place. Bright, endless blue. I wonder if that's what dying will be like.
I didn't decide the punishment. See, you got to remember that. 12 other people decided that was his punishment. That was a fitting punishment for the crime he committed. Because I happen to agree with it is a side subject. That's good for me. There is one thing that he could have done at the clemency hearing that would have changed my mind. He could have given me back my father. I'd have changed my mind. If you can't produce him fully alive and healthy and Johnny on the spot, then what can you do for me? What can you give me back that's going to change my mind after you took my father?
It was just inconceivable. We could not believe that we had come to the point where he had been sentenced. You know, he was incarcerated. He was going to be in jail for X number of years as he went through the appellate process. We had accepted that and come to terms with that. But it was the media that never let us move on and be normal. We just couldn't. Everywhere we went, there was something new. A show, a book, a magazine. I wanted him silenced, and he would never be silenced if his sentence was commuted. My family would never have any peace. Today, I believe that he would still be in our face. And I don't think there was any other choice for him. Sean was changing. He was constantly challenging them at school, getting in trouble in school, getting in trouble with his friends. I mean, there was a pattern beginning in his life of upheaval, so to speak. Lauren had told me that Sean was with a crowd that, you know, they were doing drugs, you know, lots of experimentation, very dark. At one time, I know he ran away before everything happened, and my father had to go and get him. It was very upsetting to Vonda. It was a real time of rebellion for him. In Sean's case, I don't think that the family picture was ideal. And I think that, you know, he felt maybe like he was away from his mother too much. And he never had a father, so to speak. So he wanted, I think, to be accepted by my father. I don't know what would have happened, perhaps, if Sean had felt more loved or more cared for. I don't know. I try not to look at that part anymore. There's a part of me that just doesn't want to examine it too closely anymore. He was strapped down to a table with his arms out to his side, and they had run an IV, which was how they were going to commit the execution. It was lethal injection, so it was all done intravenously. He was prepped and ready to go and laying down, and the warden was in there, and some doctor and a few prison guards, I believe. There was no fear. He was happy to go, it seemed like. And that, to me, was totally inconceivable. He didn't look afraid. Perhaps he'd come to terms with his fate.
He gets a list of everyone who's there attending his execution, both for his guests and the prison guests and his family members and the victim's family members. It's the only opportunity you're going to have to go, see, I got you. You didn't get away with it. Now we're even.
I'd reached a point where I guess I dehumanized him. And I had to, for my own peace of mind. I had to look at him for what he was, a killer. Or else I don't think I could have ever gone through it. It was painless for him. He didn't suffer. He was put to sleep like an animal. Like you'd euthanize a dog or a cat. But it was actually probably far more humane.
We're all for justice. If it had been anyone else, you know, we'd been right there with bells, you know, ringing it on, because it's payback, it's vengeance, it's, you know, whatever. But when it's someone that you love and you care about, and you did the same, you know, for the one they killed, it's mixed emotions. It's unexplainable. It's sad. It was all uncalled for. It's a waste. He was the last part of me and my sister, and he's gone. Yeah. He was my sister's child. She's gone. Now he's gone. Now they're all gone. And that's just not easy.
Do I feel responsible for helping in his execution? Yeah. Do I feel bad about it? No. Now, do I feel bad for the grieving that Jim and Debbie went through? Yeah. I feel sorry for their loss. I do. I feel horrible. They lost more than I did. They lost Vonda and Sean. I just lost my father. Did they lose more? You bet.
I don't know what I saw. I saw an end, but I don't think I saw a person. I tried not to think about it like that. Because I knew him. I didn't want to think about it like that. But I was still angry. I still wanted it to go on and be what it was. And I have great remorse sometimes for that. How could I be so cold and so unforgiving? But I don't want to be viewed as callous and cruel, because that's really not me. I'm really compassionate and loving to a fault and giving and, you know, so those feelings are not me. So I don't know what to do with them.
Most of the time, I'm not thinking about it. It's done. Done deal, done and over. 10 years, I've not had to worry that, oh, what if this doesn't happen? What if he gets out? If he gets out, then I got to worry about him. I've had no worries. 10 years, done, closure. The only thing that crosses my mind anymore is the void of my father not being there. And what a shame. You know, it's just, he was a great guy. And the world, see you come. The world is not as bright. It's just not.
I love you, Sean.
Goodbye, Steve.
Goodbye, Sean.
All my heart and all my soul.
All my heart, all my soul.
Forever. Goodbye.
Bye.
You know, we hear so many people who support the death penalty saying, well, it's part of our system. We have it. Well, the only reason that we have it and it's part of the system is because they won't act to change it. They support the system. And it's wrong. And they don't know why it's so wrong. They don't know firsthand or even secondhand what a horrible process it is. They don't know until one of their own family members has to go through it. And then suddenly they see everything wrong with it. This is a box of records from Sean Sellers. He writes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He writes 8 pages on his last day. Steve Preston, you fought until the very end. Don't stop fighting now that the end has passed. Change this world. My God is with you, Steve, and my heart always shall be too. 11:27 p.m. They have come for me. Time at last to say goodbye. I lay this body down and die. My race is done.
I am finished. God must do all the rest. Shalom.
That case and others that I've done, but Sean's because I was pretty close to him, destroyed my faith in the American legal system. Before doing death row cases, I had the highest confidence in our courts and our law enforcement because I was a cop for 10 years. And I practiced civil law, and then I worked in the courts. I thought that things were good and fine. And it was seeing the machinery of the state moving so vehemently against these people on death row to extinguish their lives, and ignoring good evidence and ignoring constitutional violations. That just took it out of me. It's made me bitter. I'm burned out. I really dislike the system. I dislike being a lawyer. That's what it's done.
He was put to sleep like an animal. Like you'd euthanize a dog or a cat. But it was actually probably far more humane.
Does that scripture justify what we're doing today? No. No. Why are we doing it today? Because we like punishing people. In my life, it's been 8 years now. And now I can finally fully talk about what I did. Do I regret? No, I helped the person. Not that I was in favor of putting that person to death. Nothing was going to stop that. I was there to help that person. So I would minister to the person. I would talk to them. I cannot do this any longer. I can't put words in God's mouth, but I don't think he would want the death penalty. I think he would want us to share life and how to have life in Christ.
How many times can a man hope, for he died?